Two. Welcome to Birds of Prey Sports Talk. We're your host Jared and TJ, and this is a first for us. Well, a lot's gonna be a first for us since we just started this channel. This one I'm really was this one I've been looking forward to the most, and it's our schedule prediction video. And well, actually, I'm sorry, our record prediction video. We already did a schedule prediction video, and I got a few right. I should have went over that in the last video, but anyways, so we're just gonna go game by game, predict each game, and if we win or lose, and the score as well. Um, I'm kind of interested to think or see what you're going to predict our offensive scores. Especially with a new offense and transitioning to a new offense, I should say. From Greg Roman's sorry playbook. It's a polite way to put it. So anyway, we're just gonna jump right into it. We really got everything down. So, like I said, our first game of the season is versus the Houston Texans. Versus the Texans, not at the Texans. So we're playing at home versus the Texans to open the season. C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, all the above. What do you think it is?
Okay, so I feel like this game is kind of similar to the Cleveland Browns game that began the season of 2020. I
Mm.
feel like the offense comes out, clicking, especially the run game. I feel like we're able to get the run game going and I feel like Lamar is able to get comfortable very early in this game, get OBJ involved, get Mark involved. I feel like Zay gets a couple catches as well. And I feel
Mm.
like the defense is solid. I feel like CJ Stroud gets off a couple good passes. I think I can imagine him probably finishing for like 175. One touchdown, one pick. But as far as my final score, I really see the final score being 24-10. I see Lamar throwing for about 200 yards, two touchdowns. You know, um, maybe um, maybe about like 115 rushing yards from JK. Something like that.
Mhm. All right. Well, I am full agreement with you. I have a scoring a little bit more. I have us winning 31-13. Kind of a dominant win. I don't know why that's so funny, but
You on that timing? You okay? Okay, okay.
I'm all for it, like all for it. I think that the Ravens do a good job of eating up rookie quarterbacks, like very well, getting their head, making them forced passes, errant passes, whatever. I think, like, I have to agree, CJ Stroud will probably get his, because I think he is going to show growth every single week of the season. I mean, he can come out and be a superstar and light us up for 5 touchdowns, but I don't hope that happens because if that happens, we're in trouble, man. We're in trouble. Especially playing Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd the week afterwards. We're gonna be in trouble if CJ Stroud lights us up for 5 touchdowns.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
let's say that's in my prediction here. That doesn't happen, and I think our scores are pretty similar. I have a touchdown more, and I have a field goal more than you for the Texans, and so yeah, we line up pretty well. We agree that they're gonna win. Now
Yeah.
it's gonna get a little more interesting. At Bengals, 1 o'clock next week, week 2. What do you think it is?
I feel like we're gonna come into this game fired up and angry and pissed off how last season ended. And I do feel like this game is kind of gonna go like that playoff game, back and forth, kind
Right.
of a little bit difficult to score, a lot of field goals. But I honestly feel like Lamar is gonna have a game-winning drive on this one, and we're gonna edge him out. I feel like the score is going to be 27-24.
So you say 27-24?
Yep, we maybe it's like, 1 minute 55 seconds left in the fourth quarter. We're down 20-24. Lamar does that game-winning drive, 27-24. Um, I feel like in this one, I feel like Zay is gonna have a breakout game. I really
Mm.
do. I feel like this will be his moment to break out. I feel like they're going to kind of, be on Odell a little bit more and especially Mark Andrews. So I feel like this is Zay's game to shine. And, I feel like Nelson Aguilar is a little bit embedded in there as well. But again, a very strong running presence by JK and Gus. I feel like both of them combined will have like 175, so however the math splits between them. So, yeah, I feel like again a very solid all around game for the offense, a little bit more chemistry being built, but yeah, man, 27-24.
All right. Well, I have some good news for you. Well, not good news for you. It's not really good news for anybody, but I'm writing them down as you're talking, just so that I can have mine ready to go. But my final score, I wrote mine before yours was 27-23. So we're pretty much on the same page. I think
Yeah.
I everything you said is pretty much what do they call it? I forgot the saying, but I think it's perfect. I
Mhm.
think it's gonna be a back and forth game, but I think that Lamar is just too good for the Bengals defense. I don't think the Bengals defense is very good. It's not awful, but I don't think it's like good or great like ours. And
Yeah.
I think Joe Burrow and we'll get theirs. Jamar Chase and everything, and I could totally see us winning 20-17 or 2016, and then they take the lead late in the game. Excuse me, and Lamar comes out, gets a game-winning touchdown. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome to see. And I'm in full agreement with you. I have the 27-23 here. So
Mm.
we're gonna move on to the next week versus Colts at home. Yeah, and 1 p.m.
Okay, now I'm gonna be honest, no disrespect to, any Colts fans, but this should be an easy win. And Lamar, I feel like Lamar is going to really be clicking this game, almost akin to the Chargers game of 2021. Well, he wasn't really clicking in that game, but I feel like it's going to be a blowout. I feel like it's going to be. I'm gonna go big here, 34-3. I feel like we're
Wow,
going to be
you're
clicking
going
on
you're
all
going for it,
cylinders.
huh?
I feel like the defense is going to be booming, hitting hard. Roquan is going to. I feel like Roquan's going to get a forced fumble. I feel like Marlowe's going to have a pick. I feel like the running game is really going to be rampant. I feel like J.K. is really going to shine in this game. I can imagine him getting like 115 yards, two tutties. I feel like he's really going to run wild in this game. Um, I feel like Mark is going to get a couple nice catches too, and OBJ, but I feel like, the running game is going to take its hit, for the most part in this game. It's just going to be a very physical, just take it to him game.
So what was your final score, by the way?
34-3.
34. Oh, you're going for a big blowout.
Yeah.
All right. So for my prediction, I have a kind of a blowout as well. I have a 23-10 win. I'm not fully convinced. I mean, I guess I can't say that because the offense is like on fire my first two games, but I think that this could be, you know, a sneaky game, for us, because I know Jonathan Taylor is a great running back. He had a down year last year, but I think it's very likely that we win this game, especially if Anthony Richardson's going to start.
Yeah.
Even if a backup veteran's going to start, I think we have a better chance to win this game. And again, I think it's something you nailed on the head perfectly. That's what I was trying to say, nail on the head. And I have to fully agree with you. And we're both in agreement, 3-0 so far. So yeah, we're gonna go right to the next week. We head to Cleveland, October 1st, and 1 p.m. game at Cleveland.
Hmm. So I feel like this is going to be a very low scoring game, honestly. I feel like it just seems like whenever we play the Browns, it's kind of a low scoring game, a defense fest. I feel like Myles Garrett is going to make his presence very well known in this game. Um, I just still feel like we pull it out. I still feel like we pull it out. I feel like the score is going to be 17-10. I feel like it's going to be a very low yardage game, in terms of Lamar, maybe around like the 150-yard mark. Maybe he passes for a touchdown to Mark and the running game is decent, but like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I feel like it's just a very low scoring affair, like
Mm-hmm.
17-10. I just don't feel like talent wise the Browns are talented enough to beat us, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with, hopefully the momentum we'll have coming off of those 3 wins coming into this game. I feel like, we will just prevail and overcome any type of difficulties we have in this game. So
Right.
17-10, low scoring game, low passing yardage game by Lamar, but we eventually put it all together and win.
I'm not the opposite, but I have us winning the game as well. I'm 28-14. I think it's just going to be one of those games. I think it's going to be kind of a blowout as well. It's just the Browns might get one towards the end to make it look nicer, 28-14. I don't know. I just feel like Lamar has a lot of unfinished business against the Browns, especially in Cleveland. When he went there and he lost and or went there and got hurt, and then last year he beat them in the first game, but it was very ugly. And then he didn't even get a chance to play again. He got hurt before he got to play in Cleveland. So I think this is going to be a game where Lamar and the offense start clicking a little bit even more, and we're going to head into Pittsburgh 4-0. I think you said everything perfect, but I think the only thing is that I think your score is more believable than 28-14, the 17-10, especially since you never know, it can get nasty in Ohio, meaning, weather-wise. So I know it's only an October game, but it's starting to get colder, starting to get a little rainier this time. I mean, obviously there's no snow, but it's going to be rainier, and I think that this has a possibility of being an ugly game. But I think it's going to be, offense is going to take over this game. Defense is going to do well, and we're going to shut the door down. Anyway, we're going to go to week 5 versus the Steelers. Give me a prediction there.
Okay, so Steelers. Again, I feel like we always kind of struggle against the Steelers. And what's frustrating about these games is these are very much self-inflicted struggles.
Yeah.
And it seems like every single time. And I'm hoping that with Todd, we can minimize those struggles. I feel like I feel like we pull this game out too. Like just as I mentioned with the Bengals game, I sort of, wanted a sense of revenge. I feel like we apply that to this game as well.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I feel like we really get the pressure on to Kenny Pickett. And I feel
Uh-huh.
like that's what's going to be the key in the game is the pressure that we get on him, the uncomfortableness that we make him feel in the pocket. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of envision this one being another low scoring game, kind of in the realm of, 20-10. I feel like we kick a couple I feel like we start off kicking some field goals and then, we might
Should have
get
win, right? 2010.
a win. Yeah, yeah.
Win 2010.
Yes. I
Okay.
feel like we start off, kicking some field goals, and then again, I feel like this game is going to be heavily reliant on a rushing attack, instead
Mm-hmm.
of passing. So again, I think it's a joint collaboration, between Gus and JK.
Mm-hmm.
Taking the game over, um, and yeah, I say 20-10.
All right. Well, for me, I'm probably far away from the mic. I actually have this as our first loss this season, so 17-20. And my reasoning for that is I really think that this is going to be the first. I mean, obviously with the Bengals, I think this is going to be the first bump in the road. I feel like for the Ravens, when they play the Steelers, I agree wholeheartedly that they make these dumb mistakes that cost them games, whether it's lack of offense. And I think that this is going to be our first game where the offense is kind of shaky. It's not going to get going as much because TJ Watt's going to be in his face all day, probably. Hopefully not. But and I think with that turf or the field they have there is god awful, so I think that's another thing to think about, and who knows, it could have rained the day before, it could be raining then, I think that I try to think about all these scenarios, especially in October in Pittsburgh. I think that has a high possibility of being just kind of a nasty game, and I think ultimately Steelers prevail, possibly on a game-winning field goal to give us our first blemish of the season. Don't want that to happen, but trying to put some losses in there, So I think this is going to be a very ugly game offensively for both teams. So that's my opinion. So we're going to skip right on to week 6. We're heading to London, playing the Titans, 9:30 in the morning here, probably like 1 o'clock there.
Okay, so the Titans. Honestly, I feel I feel kind of similar to how I feel against the Colts. I don't know if a lot of players on this team were present for the 2017 London game in which we got thrashed by the Jaguars, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, the guys are gonna come in very excited, very enthusiastic to play in London again, in front of a new crowd, and I feel like we're gonna dominate against the Titans, a team that only really has Derrick Henry, on the offense. And we've had plenty of experience with Derrick Henry. We've had plenty of successes and lows against Derrick Henry. And I feel like, again, we'll find the answer for him. He may get a couple of big runs, maybe 15-yard runs on us, but I feel like we prevail. I mean, and I'm ho- I know I'm keep giving us wins, but honestly, I just feel like the talent we have on this team can just overcome the talent. I just overcome what they have on their team. I mean, this team is just too talented to lose to the Titans. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. So I have my score being 27-6, a win.
We get a nice little blowout there. So you have a best start in Lamar's career. I think his best start is 2-0. So he's way past that. So 6-0. I wouldn't. I could see it happening.
Mhm.
I also have a dominant win here. I have the Ravens winning 33-13. I also think that the Titans get one at the end, to make it look prettier. But so I have us going 5-1. I think that again with their offensive line isn't as good as it was when Derrick Henry was balling a few years ago. So Derrick Henry's still going to get his, but I think that honestly we're just going to dominate. I mean, it's really easy. It's really easy to see that. I think it could be a reverse Jaguars, Ravens game in London, where we go out and dominate the game, and very high possibility of doing so. I think I agree with you. We should not be losing to Titans in a year that is supposed to be all in for nothing, all or nothing.
Mhm.
So that's my hope. That's my opinion as well. I have to agree that this could easily be a dominating game for the Ravens. It also could be a trap game. So I think that's another thing to think about. But because John Harbaugh, when it comes to trap games, the first like you hear the word trap game circle through the Ravens, on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. John Harbaugh doesn't know how to coach anymore. So, and John Harbaugh likes to be out coached by Mike Vrabel as well. So that's another thing to think about. So we come home from London, a big trip, and play the Lions in week 7. I'm sorry, week 7, 1 p.m. game versus the Lions.
Yeah, so unfortunately, this is where I mark our first loss of the season, and just as how you mentioned with a trap game, I feel like this is where we fall right into that. I'm gonna be honest, the Lions have a very talented roster.
Mm-hmm.
They have Aiden Hutchinson,
Yeah,
Aiden Hutchinson.
Jeff
They have,
Okuda, I think too.
um,
They just got C.J. Gardner Johnson, right?
yeah, CJ, yes, they got, they have a very young and nice defense. And plus they have Jameson Williams and Amon Ra. I feel like those guys are gonna give us some problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it'll be a very competitive game. I feel like it will be in the 20s, and I feel like, I just feel like there'll be a turnover or something that'll give the Lions just one,
Yeah,
just the edge above us. And I say the score will be, around the realm of 31-24 as a loss. I feel like Lamar does shine a little bit in this game, but I feel like he throws a pick, and it gives the Lions a chance to, win the game. And I
I
hate
think.
to pin it,
Oh,
and
sorry.
I'm just saying I hate to pin it on Lamar like that, but we can't underestimate the Lions anymore. I mean, they are for
Right.
real. I mean, we saw what they did to the Packers in week 18 of last season, spoiled their playoff hopes.
Yep.
That secondary they got, what they're building over there is real. And so, yeah.
And even before they started becoming good, they gave us troubles that led to a 66-yard field goal for us to win the game. So
Yeah.
I think this is a win, but I think it's an ugly win. I actually have it one of our lowest wins of the year, 17-14, because I think that they have a very good defense, but I also think we have a very good defense to stop them, from, getting a lot of yards and, just honestly shutting them down, and I have just JT hitting a game-winning field goal for us in the fourth quarter. Because you got to throw one in there because there was always one, So so I think that this is a game where the offense does struggle a little bit because I do believe in the Lions. I do believe in their defense, and I think that I mean honestly, it could be a Lamar 2-3 pick game. That's just the way it kind of feels, and he's got to have one stinky game a year. You know, and like really bad like game where like it's just kind of like damn Lamar's just not on it today,
Yeah.
and you just hope it doesn't lead to a slump, but I don't think it will, especially with the game I have coming up next week. But so far we're at the same record, 6-1. That should place us in first place, unless the Bengals can't be undefeated, and neither can the Steelers or Browns, at least in my simulation, not simulation, my, you know what I mean. This isn't Madden. So anyway, we're just gonna go ahead to next week. We're heading to the West Coast. We'll head into the Central. whatever you want to call it, heading to Arizona to play the Cardinals at 425.
Yeah, listen, just as I mentioned with the Colts and the Titans game, our roster is too talented to lose to the Cardinals. I feel like, I am kind of scared of Kyler, but only his mobility. He is very hard to bring down. So,
Yeah.
the risk of being able for him to extend plays is there, but I feel like we get a very comfortable win in this game. I feel like it's one of those wins where, towards the end we start to, give up yardage just to get the game over with. So it'll probably stat pad a little bit, but
Yeah.
I see the score being like 38-10. And I feel like Lamar has a 3 touchdown game. I feel like he throws for like, 200 passing yards, no picks, just a very clean and efficient game. I feel like we just have a lot of fun out there. I feel like Odell gets a touchdown. Andrews gets a touchdown. I feel like Zay gets a touchdown.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like J.K. Dobbins has a great game as well.
Hmm.
And I feel like the defense really tees off. I feel
Yep.
like we get some. I can imagine Kyle Hamilton getting the pick in this game. This just
Yeah.
seems like a Kyle Hamilton pick game, and just very solid defense all around. Led by
Hmm.
Roquan. So, yeah, 38-10.
Well,
Win.
I got a blowout too, but mine's way worse. You're probably gonna laugh. I have a 45-3 win. I just do not think that the Cardinals have a good enough offense to move on this Ravens team. Kyler Murray is either going to be playing or is either going to be coming off an injury. So it's just going to be a massacre on Fox on 425. And everyone, they're going to make those memes like where it's like, stop, they're already dead. I just feel like this has the potential of being a Jackson 5. We love those. And
Yeah,
I really think that I really hope because we know the Ravens like to play down on their competition, but I think this is going to be one of the first years since 2019 that we're not going to be doing that no more. So I
yeah,
think this is the old Lamar, or take care of business, no funny business, and I just think it's a blowout, man. I like, especially coming after a nasty win, a gutsy, gritty win against the Lions. I think that they're going to come out on firing all cylinders. Like, let's just take care of business. Good teams beat bad teams. So I think that's a good win for us. Oh yeah, I got to tell you the schedule. So next week we play a tough opponent in the Seahawks at home though. So not playing at that loud stadium in Seattle. So
yeah. And unfortunately, again, I feel like we have our second loss of the season here at the Seahawks. I just feel like their wide receiving core gives us a lot of troubles.
mhm.
DK Metcalf, JSN, and Tyler Lockett. I feel like, our secondary, just has a lot of trouble with that trio, and it just seems like each of them are good at different things. DK, a very physical receiver, he's intimidating, right? Tyler Lockett, great. I wouldn't say great yak because he seems to avoid contact, but he's very speedy. He's a good slot receiver, has great hands, very reliable. I feel like JSN is a real speedster. He can really stretch the ball downfield, and
Right.
I feel like that'll get the best of us in this game. I can feel us being a back and forth game, and honestly, a game of the year candidate. For the NFL season. But I feel
Mhm.
like at the last minute the Seahawks get a field goal, and I feel like they win this game. I feel like this is a 37-34 victory for the Seahawks. The defense lets us down.
So you're going to be pleased with this, but I also have this game as a loss too. I actually have us losing by 10, 20-30. So our scores are not very similar, but they're close. I think this is another one of those games where it's almost like how you felt about the Lions game. I think this is kind of like one of those trappish games, where it's like, you need to win against them because you don't know where they are really as a franchise at the moment. Even they made the playoffs last year, but I mean, they got, handed by the 49ers. So
Yeah.
if the Seahawks are good heading into this week, I think that they will take care of business, unfortunately. And I think it's just going to be a matter of, they take the lead late in the game, and then the Ravens try to do something and make a mistake, whether it's a pick or a fumble or a turnover on downs, and they go and just extend the score. And then we try and then just don't do anything. We may turn it over again. And, it just feels like one of those games where it's just going to be like, kind of demoralizing where it was this close. I think this has a chance to be a game kind of similar to last season's losses, where it's like you had it, but then you lost it. So
Yeah.
you got to have one of those years. Well, I think the Ravens are good at having one or more of those. So I think that obviously we made a lot of changes, but this is still a John Harbaugh led team, and they always got to have that one stupid loss.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of our stupid loss of the season, to be honest.
And also, I just wanted to point out, I forgot to mention the Seahawks have even, bettered their secondary in the draft. They have Tariq Woolen, and then they drafted a first round with their first round pick, another good corner. So it seems like they're trying to make a Legion of Boom 2.0, and I feel like that
Yeah,
causes some problems for our passing game.
I agree. So anyway, um, so we head into next week, playing at home versus the Browns, another 1 p.m. game. And what do you think?
I feel like this is a bounce back game for the Ravens. I feel like this is going to be a tough game at first, but ultimately feel like we pull through. Um, I can imagine Lamar having, a 3 touchdown pass game. Um,
Hmm.
I feel like OBJ is going to really do good in this game. I feel like,
Revenge.
yeah, yep, yep. I feel like OBJ has 2 touchdowns actually. I feel like Zay Flowers has another touchdown pass. I can imagine the score being 24-10. Add on a Justin Tucker field goal to that. Defense does its job. Keeps Deshaun Watson contained. Keeps Amari Cooper contained. Keeps Nick Chubb contained. I feel like he gets a couple big runs off, but
Right.
ultimately we keep him contained. A 24-10 win. Not not too pretty, but not too bad. Just a solid game overall.
Well, I'm the opposite. I'm not the opposite, but I think this is a blowout. I have us winning 31-10 actually. So just 7 more than you did. And I think that is the case because I think the Ravens, when they lose, they know how to bounce back next week. I think that's been a staple of John Harbaugh's era is they know how to respond the next week. So I
Mhm.
think that's important to think about. And it's let me see, it's a November day, so it's gonna be probably a little chilly. So, but I think that the Ravens take care of business at home versus the Browns. Try not to get too beat up versus because next week's matchup is going to be important, or so see a few days after that. But I think this is a good bounce back win for the Ravens heading into probably the biggest game of the year at the time. So I think that's a win 31-10, heading to 8-2. So now, obviously, Bengals week again. So Thursday night football. Let's hear it.
All right. Thursday night football. The stakes are pretty high. I feel like we come out in those all black jerseys because we know that it's that time. Um, I feel like this game is going to be a lot like how last season's Sunday night football game went. And
Yeah.
I know it might be surprising, but it seems that we do a very good job in containing the Bengals wide receivers and making Joe feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And, I feel like, we'll do that once again, but I feel like there'll be a little bit more scoring involved. I do have us winning this game, but I feel like this game could possibly go into overtime or rely on a last second Justin Tucker field goal. And so, my score for this game, I feel like this can very well be a 30-27 game. Just a back and forth game. I feel like Joe Burrow, I can see him throwing for like 2 touchdowns, and I can also see them running. Well, let me see. I see him running one in, and a couple field goals, but I feel like in the end, we prevail. I feel like Lamar leads our offense down the field, and we rely on Tuck, automatic. So, yeah.
Mhm. Well, another thing you'll be pleased to hear, I have us winning 31-28. So, um, very much on brand with what you said. I think this has the capabilities of being game of the year, on a Thursday night. I mean, we probably should have won a little bit less because it is a Thursday night game, but I think 31-28 or 30-27 is a very reasonable score. Last second field goal again, to pull through, beating them again. Hopefully we won't face them a third time because they're gonna want to get back, at it.
Yeah.
So we're actually running out of time here, unfortunately. So we're just gonna move on. We only have a few games left. We're heading to the West Coast to play the Chargers.
Okay, so the Chargers. Honestly, I feel like this is going to be a trap game, and I feel like suffer our third loss here. The Chargers are a very tricky team, and just like how I mentioned in a previous video before, in our schedule video, the Chargers have a very crafty running back in Austin Eckler. And he does a lot of things within the Chargers offense. And the Chargers have a pretty good receiving core as well with Keenan Allen. They have Mike Williams. They have a good solid tight end, Darnell Parham Jr. I feel like they just get to us, and I feel like the score ends up being 27-17. It's just an off night for us. Lamar's off. We're just off this game. So we always struggle against the Chargers too, somehow, it seems like. So yeah.
I actually have this being a little bit of a bounce back from, a back and forth game. I actually have us winning by 10, 24-14. I think that this is going to be a nice, convincing win heading into the bye week, 10-2, and I think that, I think we handle business. I think Justin Herbert's possibly going to be one of those quarterbacks that we have his number, especially after the last time we faced him. And this could easily be a very good game, but I think that this is going to be Lamar shining on prime time in LA once again. So, yeah, I have us winning 24-14. So now we head to the bye week. So finally get some rest. We're right back at it versus the Rams at home, 1 p.m. What do you think?
I feel like this game. I feel like we shouldn't lose this game.
Right.
And I feel like, talent wise, the Rams do have talent. They have Stafford still. They have Cooper Kupp. They have Aaron Donald.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we still win in this game, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like we win. I feel like we win by 10 points. I can see us winning. I can see us winning this game 20-10. I feel like this is going to be a kind of grinded out game because of the fact that whenever you have Aaron Donald, whenever you're facing him, it's never going to be an easy win.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Cooper Kupp can make it interesting as well. But I feel like ultimately we just grind it out. I feel like I feel like we get 2 touchdowns from Lamar, and some field goals by JT to ultimately, put us up even more.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I actually have us winning 24-7. So 4 more than you said the Ravens were going to score, and 3 less you said the Rams were going to score. And I think that this game, we're flying high, 3 straight wins, after a blowout, gutsy win, and blowout win, gutsy win, and then another blowout win. I think we're gonna get another one. We're just gonna be flying high, and I think 24-7 is gonna be the final score. Going to 11-2, heading into the biggest games of the year, and I think this could very easily be a Jackson 5, even though my score doesn't correlate with that. But I think this could be one of those games where Lamar goes off. But for now, I'm going to stick to 24-7 just to keep it simple right now. So anyway, we're just going to move right on to next week at Jags Sunday Night Football.
So I have a really feel I have a huge feeling that this game could be a trap game. And I feel like, in this game, the Jaguars, I feel like they will be good this season, but I feel like they're going to be one of those fringe playoff teams that are really desperate for a win, especially later on in the season. And ultimately, I feel like their disparity is going to be what wins them this game. And, I can see this being kind of an off night for Lamar, but he'd still keep it competitive. Kind of similar to the Patriots 2020 game that we played in New England. I feel like it can go exactly like that,
Mm-hmm.
but a little bit closer. I can, see us losing this game 23-20. I feel like, T Law is able to lead the Jaguars on a game-winning drive. As much as I hate to admit it, but I just truly feel like, their disparity is gonna, cause them to have the fire to win this game, want it more than us, especially with us having a better record than them, you know.
Mm-hmm. So I actually have this game as a loss too. I think we struggle in Jacksonville, and I think that that's been a thing, a thorn in our side that we just can't get rid of, and I think that's going to continue this season. And I think that this game we're going to lose 31-24. I think it's going to be a great offensive, show for both teams. And I agree with what you say about the Jaguars. They're going to be fighting. They're going to be fighting hard, and they're going to go toe to toe with us. Unfortunately, we're going to lose. I think we're just it's going to be too much. The lights are too bright for us maybe tonight, and I think we're flying too high on my schedule. You gotta get your wings clipped at least eventually, and better now than in the playoffs. Going 15-2 and then losing in the first round. So I think that this is a loss, and we're gonna come back to reality a little bit, but go ahead.
Okay,
Oh, I'm
so
sorry.
yeah,
Next week at 49ers on Christmas.
okay, so this is gonna be the biggest game of our season, and
Mhm.
This is going to be, in my opinion, a prove it game. We just lost to the desperate Jaguars. Are we the real number one team in the AFC? Are we the real number one top contender team in the NFL? And I feel like we have a lot on our shoulders going into this game. We're going
Mhm.
up against a vicious defense. I mean, Javon Hargrave, Nick Bosa, um,
Fred Warner.
Eric Armstead, um, they just their pass rush is vicious. And I feel like we ultimately prevail in this game. I feel like we showed the NFL that, you know, we deserve to be in the top pantheon of teams in the NFL. And I feel like Lamar has another game-winning drive in this game that puts him further, on his cusp to be a MVP candidate this season. I feel like we end up winning this game. I say 38-31. I feel like this is a high-scoring game. He leads us, a game-winning drive touchdown,
All
possibly
right,
a
well,
Jackson 5.
I actually have the opposite. I have this being an ugly loss. I have us losing on Christmas 17-27. And I only say that because, on my schedule, we're flying so high. And I think that we flew a little too high. We hit an out of bounds marker and just came back down. And this is going to be a game where we prove it. And I just feel like the Ravens just don't prove it in these games. It just feels like, under the John Harbaugh era, when it's a prove it game, aside from a few seasons, it's just kind of like, it just feels like a game that we lose, and I think it's going to be heartbreaking to lose on Christmas, but I think it's going to bring us back to a point where it's like, all right, now we're 11-4. It's time to get serious about these last two games. And we're going to get right into it versus Dolphins, 1 p.m., which I'm convinced is going to be a Sunday Night Football game. So we're just going to talk about it as it's a Sunday Night Football game. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Just like the 49ers game, we let the Dolphins come into our home last year and embarrass us and torch us. So 6 touchdowns or something like that.
So, yeah.
Just embarrass us. And I feel like we cannot stand for that in this game. We cannot let teams come in our home and bully us. And I
Right.
feel like, we are very dominant in this game, honestly. I feel like, we locked down T Hill because we've done it before. I know we can do it again. I feel like we keep Waddle in check. I feel like we just keep the whole team in check, man. And
Mhm.
I see us I see us firmly winning this game. I say 27-7. I feel like this is just a surprising dominant game by the Ravens, and we put it to them early on and just keep our foot on the gas pedal.
All right. So in my schedule here, I have this being when the all season's all said and done, they do NFL awards. This is gonna be the game of the year because our back's gonna be against the wall. So I want to say as we're tied, or either the Bengals are ahead of us right now at the moment at 13-3, and they win, and we're heading to Sunday Night Football, and I think this is going to be a win, and it's going to be 42-39. I think this is going to be a toe to toe, battle. You got to take punches. You got to give punches, and it's just going to be a battle. Like honestly, for the division, for the season. I think we're going to be in the playoffs by this point, but I think that this is going to be an insane game where everyone's going to be on Twitter. Everyone's going to be like, "Wow, like this is insane game. Like this is game of the year." Like Lamar is going to come out under the lights, shine. Odell Beckham's going to come in under the lights and shine. And I think that Justin Tucker kicks the game-winning field goal, and the defense struggled all game, makes the stop at the end of the game, and we win 42-39. And I think that's going to be game of the year candidate, if not the game of the year, in my opinion. All right. So last week of the season, we play the Pittsburgh Steelers, which doesn't have a time winner or date. So this could be another primetime game. And go ahead, give me your predictions.
So with my schedule, I feel like, with my wins and losses, I feel like we're very comfortably either the 1 seed or at the very least the 2 seed, depending on what the Bengals do. But I feel like we're very comfortable in our position right now. So I feel like we dropped this one to the Steelers, and not like a a ugly drop. I feel like it's more so like they just end up wanting it more than us, and then they might need it more than us to, at least make the wild card or something. So I feel like we lose this game, like 16-10, very close, but not too ugly. And I don't think Lamar starts in this game either. I don't think our starters start. I think they're rested.
Well, I think the Bengals will be good enough to the point where we're going to need to beat them, or we're going to need to beat the Steelers to win the division. And I know 12-4 would mean that the Bengals would be either 13-3 or better, which means that we'd be two of their losses on my schedule and they'd lose to just one other team. But I mean, it's possible. I mean, teams go 13-3 all the time. So I think that this game is a game that we need to win for the division, and I think that this will be a Sunday night game. So I think that the Bengals will win this game, win the game this week on week 17, which means they'll go 13-4, which means we come into the Sunday night football matchup needing to win the division and secure the top seed in the AFC. I think this is going to be another good game of the year. Not high scoring affair, but a defensive battle that ultimately the Ravens win in overtime, 20-14, as they won't need the extra point as they already won. And I think this is going to be a very ugly game. This has a very high possibility. I mean, it's on January. Well, it doesn't have a date yet. I keep saying January. It's going to be in January, most likely. But I think that this is going to be a nasty game. It's going to be cold. It could be windy or it could be rainy. And I think that Lamar is going to just finally show the Steelers, like, I'm here and I'm going to beat you here in a clutch moment. And he's going to do it here, I think. And I think he's going to lead a game-winning drive, game-winning touchdown to win the game in overtime, 20-14, to secure the 1 seed and secure the division in the same night. Even if it's just securing the 2 seed, I wouldn't care because the freaking Chiefs might go 16-1 for all we know. So I think that concludes our season here. And you have us 12-5. I have us 13-4. Not many differences in our schedule. I think we're both in agreement with a lot of things, especially with a lot of wins. But I think that last game of the season is going to be very important, and for the division standpoint. And so for your schedule, 12-5, where do you think that puts us as a seeding? Well, first, do you think we win the division at 12-5 in your schedule?
I think we do, just off the fact that we have those 2 wins over the Bengals. Who I feel like will be our most fierce competitor throughout the entire season. So I feel like we do win the division. I feel like we also have some other strong wins. I think I said that we would win against the 49ers.
Yep.
Yeah, wins like the 49ers, wins like the Dolphins, who I think will be good as well. I
Bengals
feel like
twice.
yeah,
Right.
I feel like they'll propel us, to win the division.
All right. So what do you think the seeding would be? 12-5 in your schedule.
I feel like we have to be the 1 seed.
Right.
I don't barring the Chiefs go, don't go crazy like 16-1 like how you said, but I feel like, this Ravens team could just be really talented if healthy, and I feel like, that's what I went for with hoping in mind that we stay healthy.
All right. Well, what do you say the finished product is? Where do you think we finish?
I honestly feel like we have enough juice to get to the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost the AFC Championship game, but I feel like, with the talent that we have on this roster, we at least have to get to there. And whether we're facing the Chiefs or maybe the Bengals again, I feel like, we just have to get there. This team is just way too talented not to. And Lamar he finally has what he's looking for, a decent receiving core. We have actually a lot of depth in the receiving core now. And we also have that talented running back duo. Well, honestly, I think it's top 5 in the league, honestly. We just have a lot of weapons around him, a lot of good options, and I feel like that's our ceiling. I want us to go to Super Bowl, but I gotta be honest. I feel like the AFC Championship game will be our ceiling, and I feel like we can end up there, and if we win, good. But I feel like that's where we go.
Well, ours isn't so different. So I have us winning the AFC North. I actually have us being the 2 seed, and then I actually have us losing the AFC Championship as well. I think that this is going to be a season of promise and a season to look forward to. It's not something where it's like you lose in the first round. And the 2 seed means we win 2 playoff games with Lamar, so we get him 3-3. But with the loss, he goes 3-4. But I think that this year is going to show that Lamar is a playoff quarterback. I think he's going to have exciting games in the wild card game and the divisional game, as they'll both be home playoff games. But I think we do go on the road to whoever is the 1 seed, and I think the most likely 1 seed will be the Chiefs. It's going to run through Arrowhead, unfortunately, probably again. And I think that honestly, we're going to give it our all. We're going to give it all. Give it our all, and it might be a game where the Chiefs convert a fourth down and win the game, which would be kind of funny because that's kind of how we beat them last time. But I think the Chiefs just have too much experience in AFC Championship and Super Bowls for us to just take them down in that situation. I mean, Mahomes, it's one thing playing him week 2 or week 12 or whatever, but it's different when you're playing him in the championship game, and I know Bengals fans are going to get on us, like, oh, you lost in the AFC Championship to the Chiefs or whatever, and we did that, we beat him first time, whatever. But I just think that, honestly, when the Bengals beat the Chiefs in 2021, that was just an off year for the Chiefs. I believe they were like 3-4 at one point, and they had to like win a whole bunch of games in a row just to even just get to the point where they weren't even the 1 seed that year, the 2 seed. They had to play the wild card to go to the AFC Championship game. They had to play the Steelers, and I believe they had to play the Bills. How can I forget? And then they almost lost that game. They were on the brinks of losing that game. So I just think that the Chiefs weren't the Chiefs that year, especially the way they played the second half. That was more of how the Chiefs were in the AFC Championship that year. But I think that, if you're going to want to get to the Super Bowl, you're going to have to get through the security guard. The security guard right now is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and I just don't think we're going to do it. And it's a lot to build on, though. 13-4, you win the division, you get the 2 seed, you host your playoff games, but then you go on the road and lose to Kansas City. I think that's a great season. That's way better than the last few seasons. That's probably the best season since the Super Bowl season. Because I'm fortunate to, that could be the best season, but the way it ended, it just leaves a sour taste in your mouth. You can't even look at it the same. Like, going 14-2 is great and all, but I just think that losing the divisional game was unacceptable. So I just think that the season will be a lot to build off of. I think mid-season we will extend Odell. I think he's gonna have a great season with the Ravens. I really do. I think we're gonna extend Odell to avoid the void years. Zay Flowers is going to grow another year. And I think next year, 2024, I think that's when the Ravens will do it. I think that's when Lamar finally raised the Lombardi trophy. And I think that's going to have to go to Kansas City again, honestly, just because you can't bet against consistency. All those years that Tom Brady, it seemed like, oh, maybe he's washed or whatever. It's like he came in and he won the Super Bowl. Like the Buccaneers, when he was with the Buccaneers, he didn't win the division. He had to play on the road all 3 games and then won the Super Bowl. So it's like you don't bet against consistency, and you just can't, even when they're not the 1 seed. So I think that it's important that, we keep it realistic. We could easily just say we go in the Super Bowl and win, and then we're all happy in Baltimore. But I think that for us to keep it realistic, I'm glad me and you both take AFC Championship losses, because I think that's the most realistic scenario here. Now, I'd love for them to go and freaking win it all. I mean, I wouldn't complain if they did, and I don't mean to go off on too many tangents here, but it's just, I think 2024 is really the year everything gets put into full motion, especially got Todd Monken for 2 years, got, Mike McDonald for 3, consistently, Kyle Hamilton's 3rd year, Bateman's 4th or 5th year, Zay Flowers 2nd year, OBJ under Ravens, team, for 2 straight seasons. So I think that's going to be the year. Especially Lamar's going to come back hungry, especially after a playoff loss like that. Something that could be truly heartbreaking for Ravens fans, something we haven't experienced since the Patriots loss in 2011. So I predict heartbreak.
Yeah, and what we did after that? You know how we came back after that?
Exactly. So I think that it's going to be important for us to just keep our heads high. It's easy to get to the championship game, lose, and then never go back again. So I think it's gonna be important for us to keep our heads high, get excited for 2024, and I think that we have a lot to store for the future of the Ravens, and that's my honest opinion. So, you have any last thoughts?
I just wanted to say, I kind of envision Lamar, just for the season, just as like a quick stat line. I envision Lamar throwing for about 37 touchdowns, 8 picks, 3.5K passing yards, and about 700 rushing yards.
Mhm,
I feel like he really opens up as a passer
mhm.
this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for 4,000 yards. Like I
Right.
honestly believe in that man and his passing ability, and I'm very hopeful that Todd Monken can open that up more. Lamar is not just a runner, and I want to see him air it out. I want to see him air it out like how Mahomes does or like how Josh Allen does.
Right.
And I feel like you know his stats this season will show that.
Right.
And I feel like JK will finally get, it's
1K.
frustrating. Yeah, it's frustrating because I see JK all the time on Twitter. He's hungry, and we need guys like that on our team. And I'm glad we have him. And I feel like he finally eclipses 1,000 yards rushing. I feel like he gets 1.2K yards rushing, 11 rushing touchdowns. I feel like he gets about 400 receiving yards, something like that. I
Right.
feel like Gus gets about 900 rushing yards, seven rushing touchdowns, and about 200 receiving yards.
Mhm.
And I feel like OBJ. I honestly feel like 8 receiving touchdowns, 1,100 receiving yards could be a good stat line for him. Zay Flowers like 900 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns. Mark Andrews, I feel like he has 1,200 receiving yards. I feel like he gets 9 touchdowns. My touchdown numbers might be all over the place, but I'm just going off my head. I just feel like those will be our top guys for the
Mhm.
offense.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, those all those guys are going to be nasty playmakers for us. And I think that I do believe that this will be Lamar Jackson's first 4,000 passing yard season. And I think 5,000 is going a little too crazy, but I think 4,000 is where it's at. And I think this is his second 35 plus touchdown season as well. I think he really just comes back. And I think from here on out, Lamar is just going to be Lamar. No more of this Greg Roman running crap, and no more of these whack injuries at the end of the season. I think Lamar is here to stay. He's here to be healthy. He's here to have fun, and he's here to be MVP Lamar again. And I wouldn't even mind. I don't care if he doesn't get the MVP this year. It'd be cool if he was the runner up or he was close to third place finish or whatever. But I want him to get a ring, and I don't think it's gonna happen this year, but I think maybe next year, you know, it's very, very possible, and yeah, I think this is gonna be a great year, for Ravens football. And I think the only time it's not is in that little stretch I have when I have us losing those 2 games in a row. And it's against good opponents, but you know, the Ravens are gonna bounce back, and I think that this should be a fun year. I think it should be a fun year. So do you have any last thoughts?
I don't know. We covered everything.
All right. Well, that's our breakdown of the 2023 Ravens schedule, or predictions, I should say. And I don't have anything else left to say. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Share on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, TikTok, wherever you can. And we're Birds of Prey, and we're out.
We're out.